we have a big clash of legends. It is the clash between two former world champions and two arch rivals. Magnus Carlsen and Vishy Anand, both of them are taking their chair at the Casablanca Chess 2024 currently happening in Morocco. Both of these players share a history of rivalry with each other, with the most notable one being the 2013 World Chess Championship. Now you can see Magnus is smiling over there. He's discussing something with Vishy. He's a bit confused about this format because this is going to be slightly different than regular chess. Now for those of you who have got no idea about how this Casablanca chess format is going to work out, basically the players will be handed out equal positions of the first 10 opening moves from the games played in the past. So essentially they could be handed out with the games of Kasparov, Karpov, Fischer, Spassky, where after the first 10 moves have been played, they have to continue from that position using their own imagination and creativity. So this is definitely bringing some excitement to the table. There you have the arbiter coming over. He asks Magnus and Vishy to start playing the first 10 moves on the board. E4, E5. And it turns out that the game that they have received was played in the second ever World Chess Championship between Steinitz and Chigorin. And look at Magnus, he's laughing on White's next move. B4. The Evans Gambit. This is something which Magnus will 100% avoid in today's days, but he is practically forced to play like this. Queen to F6. D4. Vishy brings out the knight. The queen gets attacked, and this is by the way move number 8, so 2 more moves need to be made. Queen to D6. Queen B3 by Magnus. Vishy castles. Rook D1. And after Vishy's next move, the real game will begin. And Bishop B6 has been played. That means 10 more moves have been played. And this is where the real game starts. It hasn't really begun. That's why, just for context, I just want to show you that how the game between Steinitz and Chigorin continued. It continued in the fashion of d takes e5, which is the best continuation for white. The queen had to move away. Queen a3. And it sort of continued in this fashion, and black emerged victorious. But the problem over here is that both of these players might not be familiar with that game. That's why they're taking their time trying to evaluate the position before it begins. There you have the arbiter starting the clock. The game has started. The players shake hands. Magnus Carlsen is thinking he's not directly making the move. That's because White's biggest advantage here is his massive center. But the problem for White is that he is down a pawn. And plus, Magnus has to worry about the threat of knight a5, which comes with a fork on the queen and bishop. So he's looking for a solution of that. Magnus Carlsen opens the game with knight to a3, not the best continuation. And Vishy plays knight to a5, which again is not the best continuation. Queen goes to a4. Now Magnus's idea is that if Vishy takes on c4, the knight takes c4 comes with an attack on the queen and also on the central pawn. So that would be good for white. That's why Vishy brings the other knight, knight b to c6. Now Magnus is taking his time. He's thinking what to do. He can push the pawn to d5, maybe take on e5. What is he going to do? And Magnus eventually takes on e5. Now Vishy's good move for Vishy here is queen to g6, just avoiding the trade and leaving white with this ruined pawn structure. But instead he plays queen c5, and this is a mistake. And Magnus has a very savage move. He can completely ignore the threat on that f2 pawn. Will he be able to find it? That's the main question over here. And he finds it. Rook to d5, completely ignoring the threat on f2. So queen takes f2 was played. Magnus moves the king. Vishy plays queen to b2, and this is a mistake. His queen is getting trapped. Can Magnus find rook to b1? And he does find it, and now Vishy realizes his queen is trapped. It can go to f2, but it doesn't matter. The queen will be trapped. So that's why Vishy decides to give up his queen for 2 minor pieces. Queen takes a3. Knight takes c4. And Magnus can just save his queen by playing queen to a4. Queen a4, Magnus saves the queen. Vishy plays knight e3. He tries creating some counter threats. But it doesn't matter. Magnus has a very, very brilliant idea, and he plays it. He sacrifices the rook. Vishy takes the rook on d5, but it just doesn't matter. Magnus can win this in several ways, and he takes on c6. And Vishy realizes that there is nothing to do. That's why after some consideration, he decides to resign the game. He's down a full queen after b takes. White is just going to take. And Vishy's down a full queen. There's nothing to do. He's discussing with Magnus that where he actually made the mistake. A complete domination by Magnus, destroying Vishy, a former world champion, in just 10 moves. That is just simply unheard of.